bring in our buddy Nico Moreno for a couple of minutes. Nico, it is Nico, JPN, and JN. So this is how we're working today. Nico, I'm bringing you in on the fly. Your question, your first question for Jorge Perez Navarro as we break down what's going to be happening on Telemundo on the World Cup. Go for it.
Hey, first of all, always a pleasure to hear and work with you, Jorge. You are one of the best in the game, without a doubt. But my question to you would be about a local kid that came out of the Sounders Academy, and that I'm wondering how much time do you think he might see the field? And I'm talking about Obed Vargas, and local kid, I mean, out of Alaska, of course, but here locally, he played for the Sounders. He's been playing excellent for Atletico Madrid. And I know that you got Edson Alvarez, you got Lida, you got a lot of competition there for the position he could play. But I'm wondering, how much time do you think that we might see out of Obed Vargas in this World Cup for Mexico?
Well, first of all, good morning, Nico, and thank you for the kind words. I really, really appreciate it. Honestly, the World Cup, it's a different tournament. And when we think that we know what the coach is going to do, or what the idea he's been working through a whole process, sometimes you awake with stories like Cadaver Valdez starting in a World Cup when Cadaver Valdez was not like a superstar in Mexico. And it's one of those things that you remember for the rest of your life. If I stay faithful to the knowledge that I have about Javier, I don't think Obed is going to be one of the main characters in the World Cup. And let me explain you why. Javier, it's a guy, a coach, a manager that relies on experience and relies on those who are really close to him. It's not that he has his favorites, but it's Javier has explained it through the years that sometimes he called the players because he wants to literally, he wants to see them, smell them, touch them, like the human side that sometimes we forget in the current world that we live, because we are in such a frenzy of accomplishing our goals and just focusing on them without what is around us. So I would like to say that due to the youth of Obed, he's not going to be one of those elemental or key players. But, I mean, you never know. Things haven't been as clear or probably as successful as the Mexican fans would like. And maybe Javier needs to rely on some young players. I mean, if that will be it, it will be a great opportunity for Obed. Now, I think that one of the most important stories related to El Tricolor, it's something that several ex-players have been mentioning through the recent weeks, and is that their analysis is that the current national Mexican team don't have as stars or well-established players with the national team and with their clubs. There's not like an anchor, like a captain of the boat. We were doing this exercise in another interview a couple of days ago, and I asked them, who do you think it's now the man of this tricolor? And kind of like we couldn't get to the same idea or the same name or names as a list, because some of them are not going through the best soccer moment of their career. Some of them have been doing great things with the clubs, but not with the national team. And that comes another thing that we used to hear. It's not a written law, but I used to grow up with this concept that not every great player in their club, it's a great player with the national team. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the other way around. I mean, you're a great player with the national team, and you kind of never accomplish the same kind of success with the club. But you have to be always with the national team because that's where you have been delivering. So tell me, for example, Nico, you have been talking about Obed, who is like the player of Mexico for this World Cup.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's a tough one, specifically now. Uh, if there is a player that to me has been playing really well, but to your point, he doesn't really have the name recognition. It doesn't have the trajectory that we're used to seeing from a Mexican team. But I think Brian Gutierrez right now is playing very good for the team. But is he the man? Is he a guy that's going to take over? I don't know. Is it Raul Jimenez?
But
Maybe he's the one that has the big name. He's supposed to be the goal scorer. Maybe he has the responsibility. But to your point, he hasn't been playing like that guy. So that is a very good question. I think Raul Jimenez, I'm going to stick with him because he does have a lot of that responsibility that always goes to the striker for the Mexican national team, whether it's El Matador or whether it was Chicharito, or it doesn't matter, right? That goal scorer always has a lot of responsibility for the tricolor. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Raul Jimenez, but it's difficult to say.
But not only those who score goals, Nico. You had, for example, the Garcia Aspes before, the Rafa Marquez as a defender,
Totally.
even Jorge Campos or Osvaldo Sanchez as a goalkeeper. You had great names, great players, great leaders in the field. Now you have had a generation that probably is in the second or the third cycle as a national team player, but they haven't been the man. Raul Jimenez, first of all my respect and all my admiration to have the guts and the spirit to come back from the accident he was involved in, because he was really in a very bad situation. And this is beyond the game, beyond the player. He is a human being, and that's above all. His health, his integrity, everything, it's above all. So, first of all, coming back from that, it's like my whole respect to Raul. But sadly, Raul has become, in a certain way, kind of a legend in the Premier League. But with the national team, has never been probably the guy that carries the team. He has done it sometimes. But when we refer to the man, like Ric Flair used to say, and Johnny's going to love this, to be the man, you have to beat the man. Woo!
Woo!
So, you have to be there every single time. And Raul have disappeared in some games when he was the most needed. So that's my question about Raul. How about Jimenez? Everybody asks about him, and if he's playing with AC Milan and he's been playing at a high level in Italy, why hasn't he gotten a real opportunity to be the man as a number 9 in the national team? I mean, only Javier Aguirre knows. And I think that the youth card will play in this one as well.
Yeah, I think Chiquito Jimenez has missed some opportunities when he has had the ability to be the guy up top, whether it was during a friendly or whether it was during the World Cup qualifiers. But yeah, I mean, it's a great point in terms of Raul Jimenez. If I'm not mistaken, he's number 2 for all leading scorer for Mexico, right? If I'm not mistaken, or he's getting close
to be honest, I haven't checked the list lately. I don't know if he's 2 or how far he is from Javier Hernandez. Chicharito scored 50 or 51. He's the only one who has reached 50. But then here is where it's proved what Javier did is not as easy as a lot of people believed. Because I think that Javier Hernandez's reputation wasn't like always respected as it should have.
That's fair.
Maybe he wasn't Hugo Sanchez, like earning Pichichi after Pichichi or Golden Boot after Golden Boot. But Javier Hernandez won the Premier League. He started at a UEFA Champions League final. He played with the best. He won everything that he played for. So we need to recognize, and with the national team, he did something that nobody else have done. And I'm talking about Sage, I'm talking about Hugo Sanchez, I'm talking about Luis Hernandez, I'm talking about Enrique Borja. And he played because everybody diminishes the kind of rivals. Everybody in the Mexican national team play against the same rivals. It's the same confederation. It's the same region. Are the same teams that they're going to be playing. Oh, but Chicharito scored 4 against such and such. Well, guess what? Sage played 4 times against the same national team. He didn't accomplish that amount of goals. Why? How? I mean, explain me. Why are we so hard on Javier? Maybe we disagree on the way he lives his life. That's his problem. That's his problem. It's not our problem. I mean, who he goes to bed with or what he thinks when he wakes up and sees himself on a mirror, that's not our problem. We have to respect that. But what he did in the field now proves that it's not as easy, or it wasn't as easy as a lot of people believe. Let's not forget that he, as a very young player, not well established in the Liga Mexicana, was signed by Manchester United. He disappeared in the last couple of weeks that he was supposed to be with Chivas, and then appeared in England with Jorge Vergara and the Manchester United people announcing their signing. And then he went to the national team, to the South Africa 2010 World Cup. And what happened? He was called, he scored goals. Well, he was young. That's not probably the model that Javier Aguirre usually manages. And probably he was pushed due to the situation or the lack of results or the lack of goals. And Javier responded. Javier was there. Javier, maybe he's not the most skilled or technical gifted player, but he had what the old number 9 had. And I have talked about this with many former players. He's like the old format of the number 9 killer in the box. And Javier played a lot without the ball. The way that he used to like run away from marker and find the spaces, be there to make contact with the ball. And also he had, I mean, the biggest luck of probably in soccer life, being able to score in the most bizarre situations or the most bizarre positions, like the goal with the face or stuff that we have gotten to call La Chichareo, because either he scored or he missed it. It's La Chichareo, because it was one of those. It's either you love him or you hate him. But those type of players, I don't think there's just one right now in the Mexican team. And I'm sorry, Johnny, if I'm going too long.
No, I'm worried about you going to bed at 3 and then getting up and coming in and crashing the party, man.
No, and you don't know the rest of the story. I mean, the good thing that I woke up early to be here with you guys, because it was a last minute thing, literally.
Yep.
It's because the compound where I live, they are working on the water system. So they're going to cut the service. They were going to cut the service at 8:30. I don't know what time is it.
Where
so I needed to shower before 8:30. If not, I mean, that's why I requested if it could be at 8:30, because the first request was at 8, and I was like literally jumping in the shower. And well, we're here. I'm happy. I'm glad. I was very grateful, John, the very first time that you were very nice to invite me to your show. It was a great experience, and as I told you, anytime that you need, I'm here for you, and I'm very grateful. Again, I hope I'm not just going like really, really long. Nah. I love the introduction. This is where the fun begins. So,
man, no, we do have Landon Southwick coming in about 13 minutes from RSL. But no, look, I love having you here because, I mean, who can I talk wrestling with? You know, who else do I get to talk wrestling with? When we talk about, you know, when I hold up 4 fingers, we know what that means. We're talking the 4 horsemen, brother. That's what we're talking about.
Well, I was going to tell you that I'm going to show you 1 finger, but it's not the one you're thinking, because I'm going to acknowledge you.
Oh, you're going new school. Okay. All right. I will graciously accept the tribal chief moniker here.
You're the man, John.
Not even close. Then let me ask you this, considering where we are in this conversation. If you don't have the man, capital T, capital N, and you have just a bunch of dudes who will listen to what Javier Aguirre wants them to do, is that beneficial for the long-term success in this tournament? Because then it's Aguirre saying, okay, do this, do this, do this. You don't have any freelancers. Or did you need, as you get deeper into the tournament, do you need capital T, capital M? Do you need the guy who wants to wear the 10 pounds of gold that's going to carry you through? How do you think this will play out, Jorge?
Well, to me, it's a team sport. But the problem is, I once had this conversation with El Turco Mohamed, and he was telling me that to have a successful succession in managers in a soccer team was to find the similar soccer idea in each one of them. I mean, if you have like an offensive coach, you shouldn't bring a defensive coach after that one, because you literally cut a process. Or if you are operating with a defensive-minded coach, you're not going to bring like an attacking-minded coach, because then you will have to like renew the roster and give opportunity to new players because they didn't fit the previous system. So to me, Javier, it's his third cycle. He has never worked the full cycle because he has always been called to put up the fire off. And this time I'm very reluctant of the duos coaching a team. My idea is, I mean, two ideas for one position on one team is very complicated, because there will be a disagreement that might become like a bigger snowball.
Yeah.
Recently, there was a video that went viral on something that happened between Javier and Rafa Marquez, the technical box. And Javier was explaining some stuff about Rafa, that he has been already signed for the next cycle, and that he's going to take over, and that he has like a very promising career as a manager. And okay, fine. But I mean, now they have to solve the equation, and who's going to make the call? The guy who has no experience, or the guy who is very well seasoned but has an idea? And sometimes when you get old, you don't modify your ideas. You don't try new things. And this is one of the situations that you probably need to go out of the box to find the solution. So if you can rely on very well seasoned and successful players, what are you going to do? And that's also added to the equation that nobody's thinking, because of the way and the results that the El Tricolor is going to carry until the opening day against South Africa. Being one of the host nations, I think it could turn into be a curse for Mexico instead of an advantage of playing at home, because the pressure is there. And now, just by telling me, oh, but I mean, we're going to reach the fifth game and that's it. No, you're playing at home. You have an extra advantage that you haven't had in other World Cups. So you just can't tell me that the goal is just reach the fifth game. You need to keep advancing. I mean, at least to me, Mexico should be considered like their, at least their ceiling should be reaching a semifinal like Korea did it in 2002. Let's not forget that was the first time in history that a FIFA World Cup was organized by more than one nation. That time was two. This time is going to be the first time organized by three nations. So if Mexico has the first stage of this event at home, I mean, he needs to at least reach the semifinals. Japan made the quarterfinals. In South Korea, made it to the semifinals. I mean, why just say, oh no, just the fifth game? Why? I don't think it's a time that we have to settle with what we have been trying to reach, or they have been trying to reach, like for the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 World Cups.
Yeah.
And not go beyond. It's a mentality thing. It's a motivational thing.
Completely. Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. Absolutely. I know you need to go shower and get your water and make
No,
sure.
I already did it.
Oh, you did already. Okay.
Yeah, of course. That's what I couldn't be.
Oh, okay. I thought you had to jet. No, we got Landon Southwick coming in from Salt Lake City, coming in here in a couple of minutes. Quickly, hit the promo for me with what's going on there at Telemundo and when things kick in, when you're heading down there, and what you're doing.
Well, I'm traveling on Monday, early morning. The World Cup begins at on the 11th. It's an amazing 104 games. All of them are going to be televised.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be my 6th World Cup. And I've never seen the amount of people that they have put together for this World Cup. Such great professionals in each area. The play-by-plays, the analysts, the former players, the producers, the assistant producers, the directors. It's amazing. I have worked with a lot of them, and I am grateful and I am blessed for this opportunity. I will try to give my best, as I promised the person that called me. It's going to be one of those experiences that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And of course, not only the TV or streaming about Telemundo, but all the social media area that they have operated in an incredible way for the last years. They have such great people. Their vision is amazing about the present and the future. So it's going to be like an amazing 180 degrees 3D coverage about what the World Cup it is and will be for the next more than a month.
7 weeks.
38 days.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm going to reach out to Kirk, and that way we can share contact info. So if you ever want to come in and eat breakfast and break bread with us when you're doing stuff and you don't have anything going on, you know that the welcome mat's out. You can come on anytime. Love having you here. And do not be a stranger, please. Just get there safely, get things rolling, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. It's great to see you.
Thank you very much. Likewise, thank you, John. Thank you, Nico. Have a wonderful weekend and enjoy the World Cup.
You got it. All right, there goes Jorge Perez Navarro. Okay, so you and I have a bit of breaking news. Landon Southwick from RSL and their broadcast team is going to be joining us in about 4 minutes. But I do have breaking news, so that means I actually have to play a full screen first. All right, we do have our starting 11 for the All-Star game. That was released. And so I want to get your feedback, Nico, on this. How long do I have you, by the way?
As long as you want.
Okay, so what we'll do is when Landon comes in, you get to stay. And we'll talk soccer and RSL and Korea Republic and all the stuff that's going on. All-Star game, starting 11. Schwacke from Nashville. Left back Anthony Marcanic from Minnesota United. Center backs Mboazi from Chicago and Tim Ream from Charlotte. Right back Andy Nahar. Your 6, Sebastian Berhalter. Your attacking midfielders, Xavier Gozo and Hani Mukhtar. Your forwards in the starting 11, Kuipers, Son Heung-min, and some dude named Messi. So that's your starting 11. There's some interesting picks in there.
Yeah. I don't mind the goalkeeper. I think he's been great for Nashville. Big revelation there for BJ Callahan's team. I think he has been just a pillar back there and a great reason why Nashville's been as good as they've been. I don't love the Tim Ream decision there. Mm-hmm. Maybe the bigger name, but I don't think he's been great with Charlotte this season. Charlotte hasn't been great defensively this season, period. I mean, this is the first year where I think Kalina has looked, just like any other goalkeeper. I was so high on Kalina always, but I think a lot of it has to do because of that lack of that first filter of midfielders and some defensive mistakes in the back end. So I don't love that one. Berhalter, I get it. I wouldn't call him a 6, but it's an all-star game, so we'll just play him there because where else are we going to put him? Love the Gozo call. I think he has been outstanding. He is one of the players that you want to watch every single week. I find myself watching RSL just to watch Gozo sometimes. So I like that. And Hani Mukhtar, just being Hani Mukhtar, the top 3 up top, I think we all knew where they were going with it. Han Sang-min maybe hasn't had the goals, but he's been assisting. He's been a guy that's performing for LAFC. So I don't hate it all. I think it's a good and reasonable 11 with maybe Tim Ream not necessarily being a guy that I would have put out there.
And obviously, since I forgot to send the link to Landon's like, hey, can you send me the link? And I go, well, yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay, so Landon will be joining us here in a sec. And we'll get his thoughts on the RSL part. We'll talk about the youth of RSL and all that other stuff. So, I mean, I know that you got to ask about Obed Vargas, and you've also got Christian Roldan, a part of the USMNT. What is the vibe like up there in the Northwest, specifically with Roldan? Because I'm thinking in certain situations, Christian Roldan might be getting more minutes than people expect.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, if you are looking at this grouping of midfielders and you are thinking that Christian Roldan is not going to get significant minutes, then I just don't know what to tell you. And if that turns out to be the case, then I'm not really sure what Pochettino is necessarily looking at, right? Because when you look at the midfielders, there's only 2 holding mids or 2 players that can truly play the 6th, and it's Tyler Adams and Christian Roldan. Everyone else is more of an attacking, more of an 8. I mean, you heard from Pochettino himself lie to us and talk to us about putting in Gio Reyna to play there. I think that's ludicrous. He's talked about putting Tillman there. You can't pair him up like that. This 3-4-3 needs that pivot to work at its best. And if you're going to, at any point in time, need to rotate Adams because of just wear and tear, a yellow card, anything at all, the only guy that could do that job is Christian Roldan. So whether he starts a game or he starts to come in pretty consistently, there is no doubt in my mind that Christian Roldan is going to have significant minutes this time around.
All right. Time to bring in our buddy Landon Southwick. And now that I've finally sent him the link to come back into the studio, it's Friday. John's an idiot. There's Landon. So Landon, Nico Moreno, Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart, hanging out with us here as well. I wanted to talk about a couple of different things with you, but before you came in, Major League Soccer announced the starting 11 for the All-Star game, and there's a familiar dude that is on there for that one. Xavier Gozo gets the nod. Very, very cool for the youth movement going on out there at the Riot.
First off, thanks for having me on, guys. Nico, it's a pleasure to join you. Love the analysis you've got going on. US has got some interesting scenarios. Let's just put that out there. They've got some challenges in front of them with the roster. And some might say that Xavier Gozo could have been a piece that maybe could have factored in as an X factor off the bench, maybe. We've seen it over the history, a la Julian Green, like bringing a guy that maybe doesn't fit quite into the picture all the way, but giving them a nod and a chance. And, there's going to be questions on that, but he didn't get that. If you go listen to Pablo talk about that, him and Luna got the email that's all being talked about right after training. They were in training, headed to Minnesota, and they got that email. And I think there was the term I heard from Xavier Gozo is he said he was more disappointed than he thought he would be. I don't think he thought he was going to be in that group, but when it all was said and done, I mean, that's a disappointing moment. And for him, I think you'll see some of that fire. I think on the RSL side, I think the nice part is that means they keep Luna and Gozo through this year. So if you're going to talk about a positive out here that we're probably excited about from that standpoint, I think both those guys stay in RSL uniforms through this season. Winter transfer window, let's see what happens. Maybe the following summer transfer window. And I think Xavier Gozo would benefit from having some more time here. He's young. His girlfriend plays for BYU. He's, this is his life and this is where he's been. And I think that nod in the starting 11 for MLS is huge. I think he's a difference maker. He's a guy that we should keep an eye on. He's going to get some youth camps experience here coming up with US as well. Number of guys in the organization are, but he's a guy I wouldn't sleep on.
No, Nico, go for it. First question to you.
Yeah, look, first of all, if you were going to ask me whether a guy like Robinson should be in this, roster over Gozo, I mean, I would tell you, of course, take Gozo. I mean, it's just going to be a guy that's going to be a game changer at any time you're chasing a game. Let's put him out there. You play with wingbacks. He could do that job. He's going to be attacking minded, so, I'm totally with you. I was so surprised as any that Gozo didn't get that call up. But I guess my question to you would be, what is currently the expectation for this team? Because RSL is in a very particular position where, look, I didn't think that we're going to be this good this season. And all it took was half of the first half of the season for me to realize that they are the real deal. I mean, offensively, at least, they are very good. Offensive movements. They got young talent. They got hungry players. And so how would you describe either the fans or your expectations of this team this season?
I mean, this is the second best start to the season that they've had, other than 2024, which is really interesting to look at. And when you talk about that movement from RSL, they've had moments where the academy has produced over the years. I mean, Taylor Booth and Zach Booth both came through the academy. Obviously, he's one's back with RSL. They went to Europe. There's been another Sebastian Soto was one that went to Europe as well from that group. Justin Glad, Aaron Herrera, Brooks Lennon, all those guys featured in the U20 side that played in the U20 World Cup. And when you talk about Richie Ledesma, I'm not even giving the credit to another guy that has had a pretty good career on that side. So, I mean, you can continue going. And I think we're starting to see that new movement come through RSL that kind of went through that phase. And I think what you're also seeing is there was an ownership change. And the Miller family who took over the club from this side, they were probably known to be fairly tightwads here in the state of Utah. Larry H. Miller kept the Jazz here. His wife now runs that. Well, is the owner of that. Her son runs it. Or excuse me, not her son. A different guy runs that now. And in coordination with the Blitzer group, I think you're going to see this team continue to spend. I mean, no one's talking about it, but what are they going to do in the summer transfer window? Are they going to add more pieces to the puzzle? And I think we all look away because we're like, oh, are people going to leave? Yes, maybe people leave, but they have not been shy on spending this year. So I think what you see is the question will be, will RSL go all in? Could this be the year they go all in? Do they go get that one more difference maker that they need? And they've got guys that still haven't even blossomed all the way. Morgan Gila-Vogie, I think, is a guy that, if I'm paying attention to that side, I'm looking at him and going, what else does he do? I think Luna's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. He already plays with a chip on his shoulder, but I think he's going to play with that added measure there. And then you look at like Gozo. Is this all he brings to the table? Or does now he sniff Europe and be like, I'm 3 ticks away from having a $30 million transfer coming up? I mean, the reports are $20 million right now. Does that go up? Does he, the form he's in right now, can he take it to that next level? And you would hope a young guy like that would take it not necessarily as a snub, but as an opportunity to say, I just wasn't good enough. How can I take it to that next level? Luna, I think you could say, you could feel that chip on your shoulder saying you got snubbed. So, different players take different things different ways. And I think both those guys are going to take it in stride. And I think this RSL side is going to continue to go as they go. And I'd be shocked if you don't see them continue to play well. The challenge in MLS, you can't peak too early. We've seen this RSL side, the only title they have, weirdly enough, came through the Eastern Conference. They played in the Eastern Conference finals, which don't ask me how that worked then. But
no.
yeah, the rules of MLS have obviously gone back and forth, and they were the final seed to get in. And I mean, they peaked at the right time. And so my worry is always, did you get hot too early? And can you figure out how to stay hot through the end of the season? And without the traditional table like we see in Europe, it matters being hot at the end. It does not matter to have a gazillion points a la Barcelona or something like that. It doesn't work that way. So
nope. Luna, Hezerkani, and Gozo, 3 names. And it's interesting how RSL builds. RSL is one of those teams that builds through Monarchs and goes through the academy, and everything goes through Harriman. Then you end up with what you get from there playing on the first team. And then now you're not afraid to spend. And so that's, I think, the mix that you're looking for these days to be successful, where, you've got to be comfortable in your own skin. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, that some teams are going to test limits. They're going to want to sit there and just go like this and write checks and just kind of sit there and go, yeah, we'll get you, and you. RSL is one of those mixes where they started building through the academy. Now with an ownership change, it looks like you're going to spend and add to that with that experience and those pieces that you've been able to build through the academy. So it's the mix, I think, is starting to work now at RSL end.
Yeah, and I think that the maybe hybrid approach that they're taking that'll be interesting to a lot of people is I actually think they'll sell off some of the young talent. And that's going to be a weird thing. I mean, we were looking and facing that prospect a couple weeks ago. I mean, Gozo and Luna go to the World Cup. Do they come back from the World Cup? Maybe not. And here's the thing that's fascinating for this ownership group. I think they see it as a business, which fair, develop good talent, give them good resources. Harriman's a beautiful facility. It's got all the stuff that's needed for people to experience the world football game. I mean, it's the reason South Korea was training there. They spent their time in the locker rooms and the weight rooms and the recovery rooms there, using all those resources to get ready for their first game in Guadalajara in 7 days. And when I sit and think about what RSL wants to do, that's part of it. They're going to sell off young talent, and it's going to hurt. But they're going to take that $20 million transfer fee and reinvest some of that. And that's where that becomes interesting. You're not seeing that with all these clubs. Some of these owners are lining their pockets with those transfer fees and not putting it all back in. I think this side will put the majority of that back in.
No doubt.
But is that a disservice, though, to what ultimately the fan base wants, which is a MLS title? Because look, there are situations, and there's a tons of them where you sell a guy and then you cannot replace him, right? I mean, Andres Gomez, we go back to that one. That one didn't turn out very well, right? You've seen it with Ajiman. You've seen it with all these players where you have this collective group that's playing great, and all of a sudden you take 2 pieces out and the whole thing just runs out of gas. So that's where, to me, and I know it's difficult because you don't want to have an upset, frustrated player in your team because he didn't get his European dream, come true. My friend John has saw the Almada, saga go sideways, right? So those are the things where it's a balance. But to me, RSL has a real opportunity, and I really do mean this, to be a true contender this year in the West. But you need to keep your players in order to do that.
Yeah, and I think they'll find the balance. And to answer your question, Nico, it is a disservice. I mean, as a fan, I was 15 years old when RSL started here in the state, and I remember that announcement like it was today. I remember reading the paper that next day, just with a sense of joy that this club was going to be in my home state. I was going to get a chance to see some of these guys. As I went up into college, I got to train with some of the guys. And, it was always interesting because the academy kind of started when I was in high school, and they were plucking these kids out of clubs around me. And you were seeing kids go to the Sum Cup. There was an age group right below me that won a Sum Cup in Spain and did all these cool things. And we always dreamed that we could grow that talent. But we'd be kidding ourselves if we didn't say you have to also add from without or outside. And part of that is soccer for a long time wasn't always profitable here in the States. And if you look at Dave Checketts, who brought RSL here, he'd tell you it was a non-profitable moment. Deloy Hansen on the other side lined his pockets with hundreds of millions of dollars because of that. And so I think what you've seen is now we've taken that plateau. I think ownership group now is at a point where they have money to spend. So they're not worried about every time recouping when they spend. But I also think, the question is, I mean, does Gozo want to go to Europe? And at some point, you've got to say, we're here to help you realize that dream. We're not all the end all be all. And we know that. Will the MLS at some point be that? I believe with the way we spend in this country, I believe we'll rival some of those. The history may never be there, but there's going to be players that will be just as expensive here as they are in Europe. And I think some of the dreams will be to play here and play against the likes of these players that are coming to the MLS. I mean, watching the players play against Messi was a fun experience. I mean, me and one of the other broadcasters were joking that I'd be nervous to go in a challenge on him, but looking over at him and seeing him and being like, that's a star. I saw Son this whole week and watching him and the way he acted in Utah was incredible. And I can't imagine looking over and being like, I get to play against that guy on a weekly basis. So maybe that dream flips, but I believe there's a fine balance. You may sell one, but not the other. And this year, RSL, I think, is going to not have to face that question like they would have if they both got named to the World Cup roster. And I think it's almost a non-point to me this year. Will that come up next year? I would not doubt that it comes up next year. And at that point, can you use your scouting abilities to find the right talent to replace them? And I think oftentimes with a lot of clubs, we see that they don't want to spend the money because they sold the guy for $5 and have to pay $8 to get a guy. I think that's a difference. I think that club's willing to, and with the connections that the Blitzer group has over in Europe, Crystal Palace, Portugal, some of these teams that group owns, I think there's some opportunities to bring some guys that you may not know that will flourish here. And RSL's proven that they can develop talent here.
Yeah. And thank you for the transition, by the way. I do want to ask before you get your weekend started. I wanted to ask about the experience of having Korea Republic at BYU, and that you and Dave got to, because I did catch the El Salvador match. We did run highlights, and so it was a no-brainer to catch the match. What was it like to have Korea Republic at BYU as they got to kind of get their sea legs about them, getting ready for the trip to Mexico? What was that whole vibe like?
First off, it was a dream come true. I wondered how I would get involved in this World Cup, and I thought I'd be paying $1,500 to see a game in person. Thankfully, did not have to. And the cool part for this situation is they ended up in Provo, which is really unique. And a lot of people ask the question, why Provo? And we explained on air a couple times, it all had to do with altitude. Korea was looking for that altitude advantage, going to play in Guadalajara, just over 5,000 feet, I believe, 44-ish 100 feet here in Utah. So 600 to 900 feet of elevation difference is what it was between Utah and Guadalajara. And they were trying to get ready, which was very interesting because Czechia was in Dallas, almost at sea level. So there's some scenarios there that are interesting. But seeing South Korea prep for a World Cup was incredible. I hope everybody gets a chance to at least watch some of these games. Korea is got a lot of challenges in front of them. They're playing a 3-back, and there's a lot of people that in Korea are not happy with their head coach. And he's a legend from the 2002 World Cup where they went to the semifinals. And so it's pretty interesting. We got involved with some of the Korea media, and man, they are filleting that team from the 3-back. They looked pretty good. There was a kid that diced them up from El Salvador on the far side of the pitch, right in front of us, for our broadcast standpoint, and he got in behind the back line 4 or 5 times. And so I fear that Korea might have some defensive issues, but they're fun to watch. They've got some young talent that is up and coming. They've got guys playing all over the world, from Bayern Munich to LAFC. You're getting these guys, and it was a cool experience. Fans were just going nuts. I walked into the stadium on Wednesday night last week, and I got handed a Korea flag. There was like Korean women out there handing out flags, and it was incredible. And they couldn't have been kinder as a delegation. I think they gained a lot of fans in Utah from the way they acted and interacted. And I think that the exciting thing is it got us all feeling like the World Cup was here. And, to look up and see that the World Cup's a week away, I think everybody's like itching for that. And, I hope you guys get to enjoy watching some games. I'm sure there's many that you guys already have circled. And I think all of us are starting to circle games going, yep, I'm going to skip work for that one, or I'm going to tune out everything else that night. So
I'm kind of feeling a little,
yeah.
boss. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Landon, as always, my friend, it's great to see you. Next time that you are in Rio Tinto, don't forget to introduce yourself to our man, Jarrett Smith, who is now out there, and you can't miss him. He's like 6'9". He's wearing the SDH gear, and obviously he's a part of La Familia here. He's now out there with his base of operations. So say hi to introduce yourself to Jarrett, and don't be a stranger, my friend. Great to see you. Hit the promo before you get out of here.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. Thanks for you can catch me on Twitter, X, or whatever we call it nowadays. I'm glad to answer any questions, glad to talk RSL, and I'm glad to have you guys to join you guys. John, Nico, thank you. Good luck in your endeavors in the next month and a half. It's gonna be a go for the next month and a half. And hopefully we'll get to talk a little bit during that and see how things are happening and shaking out for the US. Hopefully some US advancing. That's what I want to see. So
yep, door's always open, my friend, and we will catch up with you soon. Now that you've kind of taunted me with this, the door is open, and we're going to be knocking on your door.
I'm in. Come calling.
All right, there
Always
goes. All right,
thanks, boys.
There goes Landon Southwick, play-by-play voice for RSL. One more thing with you before we get out of here, and I've got to go through some news and some economic stuff, so that's going to be real exciting, but it's mandatory. Mauricio Pochettino on Chris Richards, quote, "He's not ready to compete and play. In the next few days, we will assess him, and then we'll make a decision. At the moment, he is doing his recovery. He's not available tomorrow to play against Germany." Honestly, I'm fine with that. It's like, look, just get better and get all the stem treatment that you need. But, look, I'm not even focused on Germany. I'm looking at maybe, look, just be ready for the group stage. Be cool. Just don't do anything to rush it and go the flip side and make it worse.
Yeah, maybe today you just work on getting some continuity, get your best 11 out there, try to figure out how you are going to be able to protect Team Ream so he doesn't fall on an island and gets isolated the way he did against Senegal. Make sure that the team looks a little bit better on set pieces. There are things to work on here today, but I would like to see the 11 that will likely play against Paraguay today play consistent minutes and get some repetitions together, because that's what you need.
As always, my friend, thank you for coming in on a Friday, and thanks for running the ship when it came to talking to Jorge Presnavaro and our man Landon Southwick out of Salt Lake. It's always great to see you. Thanks for dropping in on a Friday. I really appreciate it.
I'm just the Robin to your Batman, baby. I'm just right here to just assist you with anything that I can, my guy. I appreciate it always, of course. Hope that you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.
You got it, my man. Be good. Batman. He's Robin, my Batman. Give me a break.